Grab your Bibles and open to the book of Proverbs. Thank you, team. The book of Proverbs, chapter 19. I'll read one verse to you, and then we'll go to the book of Matthew. Proverbs 19 and 21. If you're ready to learn today, say amen. Amen. You can make many plans, but the Lord's purpose will prevail. You can make all of the plans you want to in your life, but God's purpose is going to prevail. If you give it long enough, and if you watch long enough, you will see God's purpose prevail. Let's flip over to the New Testament. Go to the book of Matthew, chapter 7, verse 13. You can enter God's kingdom only through the narrow gate. The highway to hell is broad. Its gate is wide for many who choose that way. But the gateway to life is very narrow, and the road is difficult. Everybody say, the road is difficult. And only a few ever find it. I have come to, I'm a planner. I like a good plan. I kid with my wife a lot because I'll ask her what she wants to do, what she's thinking, and she'll say, and I'll be like, and she'll say, Randon, would you just tell me what the plan is? I'll be like, no, I want to do what you want to do. And she's like, no, you don't. You have a plan. And I'm like, okay, I have a plan. It's a good one too. The only day that I don't ever want to make a plan is Sundays right after church. Sunday after church, I do not want to decide what we're doing for lunch. I just don't. And she knows this in our marriage. She knows I will make all the decisions in the family. I like making decisions. I have no problem with it. But Sunday after church, I don't want to decide. I want to be told what we're doing. And every Sunday she comes and she says, okay, here's the plan. And I go, And she's like, okay, what do you want to do? And I say, no. You're deciding today. We'll go with this plan. As a planner, it's a huge challenge for me to embrace this verse in Proverbs because I believe I make good plans. But then I have to realize that as good as my plans are, God's purpose is going to prevail anyway. But then I fast forward to the New Testament and I read verses where Paul talks about that what God has for us is more than we could ever ask or imagine. And so now I'm in this unique place that I don't like being, where I have to decide, do I trust in God that His way is more than I could ask or I can imagine, or do I stick to my plan? And am I willing to lay down my plan for His purpose? God's purposes are going to prevail, and when they do, it's going to be better than you could have even imagined. Okay, all right, Lord, but the problem is this: God's road is very difficult. I wish that I could tell you that living for God was easy every day. Some of you have lived for God a long time and you've walked through some stuff, and you're well beyond the place where you live in this dream world, this fake utopia that everything is easy and nice and simple, and living for God is just like floating through a field full of daisies. And isn't life grand? No, life is hard, and the road to life, the road to follow Jesus, is very difficult. And you are going to have to make some decisions in your life that are very hard. Good news for me, I think I'm a great decision maker. If I were to, let me ask you this, it's just not just me. If I were to grade yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, how good of a decision maker are you? Just think about it for a minute. What would you give yourself? All right? How many of you would say I'm somewhere between 1 is low and 10 is high? How many would say I'm between a 1 and a 3? Okay, some honest people in the room. I like it. I like it. How many of you would say, I'm somewhere between like a 4 and a 7? I'm somewhere in the middle. I'm pretty good. I do better than I don't. I've got a pretty good. How many of you would say, I'm like an 8 or a 9? Any 8s or 9s? A lot of 8s or 9s in this campus. Okay. How many 10s? Any 10s in the room? 1. Hold on. Hold them up high now. If you're going to go with it, stick with it. You've already made your decision. Okay. In Sugarland, I asked this question. I had 2 10s, a father and a son. That was it. They were both looking at you like, you dad? I'm like, you son? I was like, yeah, okay. That was awesome. 10s. I got to tell you, I'm about to tell you. I want to tell you that I'm a 10. Because in the way I view myself, I'm like, I'm a 10. Like, I can make good decisions. But I'll tell you a story that forced me to recognize maybe I'm not a 10. Do you want to hear it? Okay. So the story begins with a young boy. I'm just kidding. I wasn't young. 2019, towards the end of the year, was kind of a wild year for me. First thing that happened was I had to have surgery on my ankle. And the doctor told me I was going to be out a couple of weeks. It turned out I was down for 4 months, couldn't put weight on my ankle and all kind of stuff. I was really not happy with the doctor, but I had to do it. It was an injury from slow pitch softball, playing with a lot of guys from this campus, and I got hit in the ankle and had to have surgery. I was really not happy about it, so I couldn't do anything. So now I go from being very active in my life, coaching baseball, coaching softball, playing golf, and then I couldn't do anything for months. And then in January of 2020, this is just before COVID, it's Wednesday night, or it's Thursday night. My anniversary is the next day, so it's January 23rd. I'm finally back. It's my second week back playing a highly competitive church league slow pitch softball. And some of you probably have seen the pictures or seen the story. I got hit in the face. I broke my orbital bone, broke my nose, blood in my eyeball, stitches in my face. It was a whole thing. Had to go to the hospital. Welcomed in my anniversary with my wife staring over me in the hospital going, happy anniversary, taking pictures. I should have put the picture up, but it's a bloody mess. And so my wife decided that this was too aggressive of a sport for me, and so I needed to retire. And so I did. I retired. I didn't want to retire. I was forced to retire. I could say like Joe Biden, but I won't say that. I couldn't help it. I was just kidding. So I retired, and then, as you know, COVID hits a month later. All right, so this is end of January. A little bit later, COVID hits. So we all go home. At that point, at the very same time, I am very stressed. We were facing some very difficult financial problems in a couple of our campuses, and then we go into COVID, and it's like, what's going to happen? The world is shutting down. It's all ending, and we were working through all of these things. And in the process of it, I had been just stress and lack of activity, changing to my lifestyle, getting older. All of things were happening, and I didn't respond well. And so we're going. This is all happening during 2020, and the way I coped with it, I started eating Oreos. I was counting my Oreos. I was counting my Oreos like you count calories. I was counting my Oreos. The problem was I wasn't counting them in single Oreos. I was counting them in rows. Not the rows of like the small normal pack. I'm talking about the family economy size that's got more on each row. You know, they're about this long. And I was like, I was eating them as fast as I could. We kept running out of milk. My kids were like, why are we out of milk again? You know, I was hiding them from my family. This is true story. I mean, I'm kidding, but I'm totally true. Like, I hid them in my desk so my kids couldn't find them. My wife would come around the corner, and I'd be like, nothing's happening in here right now. It's the whole thing. Of course, then the Oreos, because you know how it works. Like sin leads to more sin, you know, and so the next thing you know, I'm eating everything in sight. I'm stressed out. I'm not doing anything. I'm working, but it's all at home. You know, some of you did great things during COVID. You like learned new habits and new things, and you cooked these special things, and you learned these new hobbies. I did not. I ate Oreos. That is what I did. So in 2022, fast forward, I had a goal that before I turned 41, I want to climb Mount Rainier. And many of you have heard me tell the story, so I won't retell it. But so I get to the end of 2021. Now I'm 9 months away from climbing. And this has been a year and a half of eating everything in sight. I've gained 40 pounds. I'm in the worst shape of my life. And we go snow skiing for Christmas. This is the end of 2021. And as I'm going down the mountain, I kept letting all my kids go in front of me. And I would say to them, I'm going to pull up the rear and make sure everybody's okay. Y'all go ahead of me. The truth is, I couldn't breathe. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't get down the mountain. And so I would ski a little way and I would have to stop. And I was like, I've been skiing since I was 9 years old. Why is this so hard? Oh, yes, it's because I'm more out of shape than I've ever been in my life. And I remember standing on the mountain, and my kids are skiing away, and my family's skiing away, and they're just acting like life is good. Life is not good for me at this moment. And as I'm sucking wind, trying to breathe, I'm looking at this mountain, and I say to myself, if you can't ski down this mountain, how are you ever going to climb back up it? So I get home, and this thought's going through my head, and one of the guys that was climbing with us, his name is Hudson. Hudson calls me. Hudson's one of the kindest guys you will ever meet in your whole life. He's super kind. And he calls me, and he says to me, hey, big guy. No, he didn't say that. He didn't say that. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. He said to me, he said, Pastor Randon, Loud and I are going to work out on Saturday. There's a community workout. Would you like to come to our gym and join us for this community workout? And he goes, we're climbing a mountain in 9 months. It might be a good time to get started training. And that was his nice way of saying, hey, big guy. And so I go, I kid you not, I go in and they put us in groups. So I'm on a team with 3 guys. Hudson's 26 years old. He's a very good athlete, in great shape. He runs all the time. There's another guy there. His name is Javi. He's a former Marine, and he's a little older than me, but this guy is cut. He's been working out his entire life. He's just one of those guys. He just walks in a little bit like this. His legs are a little bow-legged. It's just a little too much muscle and stuff everywhere. And I'm just like, this guy's awesome. And then this guy named Terrence, who I've only seen a couple times since then. Terrence is a guy a little shorter than me, white guy a little shorter than me. And it's January, mind you. And before we start the workout, we are in an open area. Before we start the workout, this dude takes his shirt off. Why are we doing that? His abs are like, da, 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 da. And now, so I'm just like, I'm going to leave my shirt on because we're playing shirts and skins, and I'm going to be shirts and your skins. And so here's the workout. The workout is we have to do synchronized burpees, okay? 50 of them. When you finish that, you do some other thing, and then you do 40 synchronized burpee. Then you do some other thing, and you do 30. You do some other thing, you do 20. And then you do some other thing, and you do 10. That's a lot of burpees. I don't know how many burpees that is. It's more than my brain could math at that moment. Now, if you don't know what a burpee is, it's a very simple thing. It's very simple. It's one of the simplest things you can do. Lay down on the ground and stand back up. Basic function of life. I have been doing this forever. I can do it a couple hundred times, no worries. Except for that you have these 2 guys, you have to go just as fast as they are. And you had to jump on this plate all at the same time before you could count. These guys, who knew there was technique to doing a burpee? They were dropping on the ground. They were bouncing back up. I looked like you were dropping a beanbag on the ground. Just... I'm on number 3. I am crawling back up, and they're just waiting on me. This is a true story. I'm not even kidding. They all laugh about it. I still go to this gym, but they all laugh at me over this whole deal because I am crawling back up. and they're standing on there, and as soon as I would get back up, boom, they're back up. Wait a minute, when do we breathe? At one point, Terrence is standing over me, yelling. I don't know Terrence, by the way. And I had to spend some time with the Lord forgiving Terrence, because he is standing over me, yelling at me, breathe. Of all the things you want me to think about in this moment, breathing is it? It was terrible. I finished. We didn't win that day. Show back up on Monday. I did. The coach, I walked in and the coach said to me, I didn't think we'd see you again. Coach failed to realize something. He didn't understand what was going through my brain in the middle of that workout. Every time I was going down and trying to get myself back up, I was thinking about how many decisions I had made. I've always seen myself as an athlete, never the best shaped guy, but if something needed to be done, I could do it. And all of a sudden now, I can't breathe. I can't function. I can't live my life. I can't do things with my kids. I can't snow ski. How am I going to climb a mountain? And every time when he was yelling at me to breathe, the only thing going through my brain was, why did you eat so many Oreos? True story. I can't blame that on my kids. They didn't make me eat Oreos. I can't blame it on my wife. I was hiding them from my wife. She was buying me packages at the store. I was going to the gas station when I would run out and never tell her. I had a problem. I'm not kidding with you. I had a problem. Y'all think I'm making this stuff up? She will corroborate this story. I can't even blame it on COVID. Because as I said, some of you did positive things during COVID. You made good decisions. I made bad decisions. Oh, I made good decisions when it came to other parts of my life. But in this area, I failed miserably. And I realized, Pastor Craig Goschel, he says it like this: the quality of your decisions will determine the quality of your life. I'm not here to shame anyone. I'm pointing out where I got to and what I realized. I can't live the life I want to live. I can't have the quality of life that I want if I keep making these decisions. And I can't blame the world. I'm going to have to make a change. If I want to go somewhere else, I'm going to have to make some different decisions. If I want to follow Jesus on the road to the life He has for me, I can't keep making the poor decisions I've been making. And then looking around and going and saying, Jesus, help me get up off this floor for one more burpee. No. I've got to make some changes in my life. I've got to do some things differently. So when I look back on my life, I look at certain areas and I can say, yeah, I think I was a 9 or a 10. But boy, I look at other areas and I say, no, I'm down there with you guys in that 1 to 3 group. Oh, and I've made some poor choices. And I want to go somewhere else in my life. I want to see everything that God has for me and for my family. Then I begin to study, why am I making bad decisions? It's not because I'm not smart. I am smart. It's not because I'm not capable. I am capable. It's not because I don't have good influences in my life that if I would listen to them, they would help me. I did have good influences in my life. I just wasn't listening. So I had to ask myself, why am I making bad decisions? There's a lot of reasons, but I want to give you 3 today. One is this: I often make bad decisions when I'm overwhelmed. If you think about the bad decisions you've made in your life, were you overwhelmed? Were you stressed out? Were you exhausted? And did that area lead you to making more bad decisions? Scientists tell us that, and depending on who you listen to, we make somewhere between 20,000 and 35,000 decisions a day. Think about that. That's a lot of decisions in the course of a day that you and I make. You say, well, how do you make that many decisions in the course of the day? Well, first of all, your alarm goes off. You hear your alarm. The first thing you decide is, am I going to turn it off or am I going to leave it on? Am I going to hit the snooze button 3 times, 4 times, 0 times? What am I going to do? Then am I going to get up? Am I going to pop out of this bed when I get up? What am I going to do now? Am I going to be mad at my household and yelling at everyone because I don't like getting up? Or am I going to be nice? I'm going to be kind. Then I'm going to decide, well, am I going to brush my teeth before I eat or after I eat? And so now do I use a little bit of toothpaste? Do I use a lot of toothpaste? Do I try to fold this thing over one more time to get one more out of the tube? You know how you fold it and press it and fold it and scrape it on the side of the thing? Or do I throw it away and reach over and grab my wife's out of her drawer and use her? What do I do here? All these are decisions that we're making. What am I going to do? Am I going to turn on the news in the morning? Am I going to listen to that while I'm getting dressed? Or am I going to, and if I am, what channel am I going to listen to? Am I going to listen to MSNBC? Am I going to listen to CNN? Am I going to listen to Fox News? I'm going to turn on the YouTube news because they're always right. Like, who am I going to listen to? Or am I going to put some worship music on? Or am I going to put some of that devil music on? What am I going to put on? I'm here to have a good time today. You understand all these decisions. Now, it's breakfast time. What am I going to do for breakfast? I'm going to make this. I'm going to make that. I'm going to have cereal. What kind of cereal? No, I'm going to have eggs. I'm going to have scrambled eggs. I'm going to have sunny side up. Am I going to put the yolks in? Or am I not going to put the yolks in? What am I going to? All of these are decisions that we make over and over and over and over and over again. And here's what happens. You run out of energy to make decisions. It's called decision fatigue. The bigger the decision, the more energy it takes from you. This is why our president, all presidents, they don't make many decisions at all. They don't decide what they eat. They don't decide where they eat. They don't decide what they're wearing. It is told to them. Why? All of those are decisions, and we have realized that we need our leaders to make a few decisions that impact the world. I don't need you to waste your time deciding if you wear the white shoes or the brown shoes or the black shoes. I need you to put on the shoes I'm telling you so you can determine what we're going to do on this situation that is going to impact millions. So the bigger the decision, the more it takes away from this energy that we have. This is why often in the morning you start out your day well. You decide you're going to make good decisions, and you're planning well, and things are going well. And then you have a long day at work, and you made a lot of good decisions, and you made them all right. But then you get to the end of the day, and all the plans you had for the evening that were good and healthy. You were going to spend some time reading to your kids. You were going to take your wife on a date. You were going to spend some time listening to the Word of God in the evening. Whatever it is that you were going to do, we get there and we go, I'm not doing any of that, and we decide not to. Why? Because we're tired. And it's not just physically tired. We're tired of making decisions because of decision fatigue. So now what do? In the middle of the night, we're shopping on QVC. We're Amazoning after dark. It's a whole thing. Why? Decision fatigue. Some of you have been on a health journey and dieting or whatever, and in the morning you were doing great. Right before bed, you ruined the whole day. Why? You were hungry and you didn't have the energy to make a good decision. You're not abnormal. This is who we are. This is humanity. The question is, what are you going to do about it? I often make bad decisions when I'm overwhelmed. Secondly, I often make bad decisions when I'm afraid. And I don't just mean fear like I'm scared of that. I'm afraid of making the wrong decision. So if I think, man, if I mess this up, it's going to impact a lot of people. So there I get caught up in indecision, and I'm frozen, and I don't know what to do. And that causes me then, because indecision is in itself a decision. You miss the opportunity, not because you didn't want it, but because you couldn't decide, right? And so indecision becomes a decision, and then as Christians, we have this added pressure that, like, I'm trying to follow God, so I'm praying about it. My grandpa used to say, there's some things you don't need to pray about. Look, pray all the time, but there's some things you don't need to pray out. You need to decide and go. And so I'm going to keep moving here, but this difficulty of trying to follow the will of God and also being afraid to make the wrong decision because some things are hard, it can lead us to making bad decisions. The third thing is, I often make bad decisions when I'm influenced by the wrong people. When I'm influenced by the wrong people. If you don't think people influence you, you are sadly mistaken. We are all influenced by the people around us. We are all being influenced by someone. Paul said it like this in 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 33. Bad company corrupts good character. We are all being influenced by people. Have you ever, maybe this is you, or maybe you know someone, and maybe they went on a vacation to, say, England or Australia or somewhere like this, and they were gone a couple of weeks, and they came home, they were talking differently. They were saying weird words. Why are you talking like that? We're in Texas. They're talking like that because they have been influenced by the people that they were around. And many times we don't even hear what we're doing. In your life, you're being influenced, and if we're not careful, we're being influenced by the wrong people, and we don't even realize what we're doing. And so the wrong people begin to influence us and push us in certain ways. This is one of the reasons it is so important that we stay locked in to a strong church family and small groups and people in our lives that have similar values and directions as we're going. I want to be around people that are going the same direction I'm going. If you're going a different way, I'm not saying we can't be friends, and I'm not saying we can't talk, but I've got to be really careful who is influencing me the most. My decisions. If I want to go somewhere in my life, I need to make better decisions. Pastor Lindsay and I are preparing to later this year, early next year. We're gonna sell our house and make a move. I'm really convinced. I was talking a little bit. First off, all the ladies that came over last night to Sugar Land for the worship night, thank you so much for making the drive. I hope you had a great time. God was really strong in the room last night. Thank you for taking time out of your lives. One of the things I was briefly talking about is I believe that one of the blessings of God on our life and God's plan is God wants us to be owners. He wants us to own land, own your own home. He wants you to be an owner, not a renter. Renting is not bad. I'm not saying that, but when God called the Israelites out, He gave them land. He gave them property. He gave them homes. He gave them crops, fields, and businesses. He gave them things to be owners of. And then He put laws in place with how they could deal with the things He had given them. And so my hope for all of you is that in your lifetime, you own a home. Actually, I'd love for you to own lots of property. But if at the basis is to own your own home. And so let's say that you're in the room today and your dream is you want to have one of these nice sold signs out, and that sold is because you are going to get to move into your dream home. And this is the life you want to live. And you say, Pastor Randon, that's my goal. I want my own house. I've been praying about it. I've been thinking about it. I've been dreaming about it. But there's a problem, see? And the problem is when you open up your bank account, your app, it looks a little bit like this, and you've got maybe $2.44 in it. And you want to own your own home, but you have this much money. I found the perfect home, Pastor Randon. I can envision me and my husband and my wife and my kids living. We could raise our family there. We could own this home for generations. Perfect school district, perfect location, great access to this and that. But the problem is my bank account looks like this. Now, let's just say you need $20,000 for a down payment for a home. Probably not enough, but let's just throw a number out there. You've got $2.44 and you need to get to 20,000. So what are we going to do? We can sit here and talk about it for a lifetime. We can dream about it. We can look them up on realtor.com and show all of the houses and how great it would be. But if we don't make some decisions, we're going to be stuck right here with $2 month to month, barely making it, talking about all the reasons why we can't own our own home. Or we could start making some changes. We could get a budget and live according to a budget. We could get some advice, and we could get a financial advisor. We could go through Dave Ramsey's program, Financial Peace. We could do something to help us start living below our means instead of above our means. We could start using the snowball effect, and we could start paying off some credit cards and getting ourselves out of debt. We could then get involved in different things, and we could say, hey, I'm going to earn some extra income. Well, I don't have much to offer. Well, but what do I have? I have a decent car. I can drive for DoorDash. Okay, so we start earning some extra income. We start cutting out unnecessary expenses, and yes, we want them, and yes, they're good. They're not bad, but what I really want is a new home, and I have to make a choice. Which one do I want more? Do I want the new home, the dream, the plan, the hope, or do I want the temporary appeasement? Which is it that I want? And so we start making these good decisions. The next thing you know, it's been 8 months, it's been a year, maybe it's been 18 months, and we still don't have the home, but we also don't have $2.44. Maybe we have like $15,000, and we are now within sight, and we're not there yet, but we're starting to look online a little bit. It's starting to become a reality, and we've got some momentum and some progress in our life, but then we've done really well. We deserve a vacation. Instead of going on a vacation that we can actually afford, we decide, man, it's always been my dream to take the kids to Disney. And next thing you know, we've spent $8,000 on a trip to Disney. And we didn't want to spend our nest egg, so we only spent a little of it, but we started putting money on credit cards again. We hadn't been doing that, but now here we are, and so now we're paying 27% interest, and then we decided, well, I really needed a new vehicle, and I didn't want to do this, and these things, and we quit living according to budget, and again we got busy. Pastor Randon, it was Prime Day on Amazon, and I think if you were to understand the kind of money I saved. Pastor Randon, it's girl math. It's really what it is. It's girl math. And if you were to understand how much money I actually saved, and next thing you know, what took us 18 months to build takes about 2.5 weeks until we're right back here. And we can blame it on the whole world. But how many times did we make those decisions? You say, well, Pastor Randon, it's a good thing. That's not me. I already have a house, or maybe I don't want a house, so that's not me. How about this one? You want to have a marriage that looks a little like this. Well, first off, these are good-looking people right here. But you want to have a marriage that's filled with love and connection, a desire to be together, a desire to do things together that is fulfilling, that represents, when you see this connection in Scripture between Jesus and his bride, the church, and you see the love and the sacrifice, like, I want a marriage that represents that. You see marriages around you, like, I want that. And you want this amazing marriage, and I want it for you too. Man, if any of you in this room have been in a miserable marriage, you understand how much it can impact your entire life. I don't want that for you. I want something that is beautiful and incredible. But right now, your marriage is on the rocks. And you're not talking, you're not communicating, you don't have fun, you exist together. Maybe you're good partners and you make good parents together. You're cohabitate together, but there's no love, there's no excitement, there's no energy, there's no passion, there's no romance, there is nothing. You just live together. So what do? Complain about it to our girlfriends. Talk to the guys at work about how crazy our wife is, and hormones this, and menopause that. Or, and I'm just going to throw this out there to you, or we change our decisions. We get involved in one of those small groups with some other marriages that might influence us in a positive way. We decide to read a book together on marriage and actually apply it. Not like just read it and say we know, but like actually apply some things. We decide we're going to put the cell phones down. And we're going to look each other in the eyes and we're going to have conversation. I know that we don't know what conversation is anymore, but it's where there are no devices involved. You look each other in the face, you use words, things that come out of your mouth, not that go through your thumbs when you're texting, and you talk about what's happening in your life. You talk about your hopes and your dreams. You talk about what God is doing in you, what He's speaking to you. You communicate. And so, man, and so then you went on husbands, you took your wife on a date, not just one a year, but regularly. You took her on a date and you led in this manner and you started treating her like the woman you want her to be. Ladies, you quit having headaches and going to bed early. I'm trying to decide, where do I go from here? Do I go deeper? Let's go deeper. Let's go deeper. Guys, you left your computer at work, your devices in the kitchen, and you stopped looking at pornography. Oh, we're even now, okay? We're even. But don't think those two things aren't connected, because if you are, you're fooling yourself, both of you. And all of a sudden, we looked up and I like my spouse again. I remember the girl I married when she walked through that door and why I did crazy things so we could come in front of all of our family and friends and say, I do. And life, our kids are noticing, oh, Mom, Dad, you're putting your marriage in front of us. They're simultaneously mad at it, but God's speaking to them through it. But then life got busy again. And you know that new Netflix show came out, so I had to binge watch that show. And my wife didn't want to watch it, so I watched it in the TV room, and she was down in the living room watching God Only Knows What You Girls Watch. And, you know, we didn't have time for the date night this week because, you know, life, so but there's next week or next month or next year. And, no, we got through the first 3 chapters of that book. It was really good, but we decided, we don't have time. We don't need it. We don't need the rest. We're going well. So we quit reading the book, and we just started going back. And, have you talked to your wife lately? Well, I texted her the other day. No, have you had a conversation with her? I told her that she needed to pick up some Oreos on the way home. And, and next thing you know, all that work we did, we look up again, and we're right back where we started. And we can blame it on the whole world. But my challenge to you today is, what decisions are you making to get you where you want to go? I honestly don't care what you tell me you want to do. I want to know, what are you deciding to do? It's hard, Pastor Randon. It's hard, it's easy for you. You don't know my life. Stop making excuses and start making different decisions. I'm going to do some hard things to build the life I've always dreamed of. And there's a lot of decisions that need to be made, and I'm out of time this morning. I'm going to land this plane. and I'll just leave it. Some of you are going to be mad at me, and that's okay. I'll see you in the foyer. We'll hug it out. But here's what I want you to understand. There are some things, and you can study this, but there is this thing you can do to help you make better decisions in your life. And it's called pre-deciding. Pre-deciding. What it means is, I'm going to make some decisions right now. When I'm in a good headspace, when I'm not exhausted, when I'm not fearful, when I'm looking at my values and the principles that I want to live my life by, I'm looking at the Word of God and what it says, and I'm going to make some decisions according to that. And then, when I'm tired and worn out and exhausted and broke and don't know what to do, the decision is already made. I'm going to pre-decide some things. We would be a whole lot less tempted if we pre-decided to never be in a place of temptation in the first place. What things do you need to pre-decide in your life? I'm going to give you one. I'm going to ask you on your own time to go study Acts chapter 2, verse 42. And I want you to see what the early church was devoted to. They were devoted to living this lifestyle. But here's the number one thing. I've decided in my life that God's purpose is better than my plans. And I'm going to be committed to His purpose no matter what that means. I have decided that even though the road to life is difficult and very few will enter it, I have decided that I'm going to follow Jesus. I'm going to follow Him in my marriage. I'm going to follow Him in my finances. I'm going to follow Him in my worldview. I'm going to follow Him in my belief system. I'm going to follow Him in how I treat other people. I'm going to follow Him in how I commit myself to His church, His bride. I'm going to follow Him in everything that I do. I've pre-decided. And here's what that means. When something comes along that tries to pull you aside, there is no decision to be made. I'm not doing that. Well, what do you mean? Why did you decide that? I decided that a long time ago. I'm going to live my life this way. Yeah, but Pastor Randon, what if this happens and what if that happens? Doesn't matter. I've made my decision based off the Word of God. It's already decided. I began to you with the team leading us in this song. I've decided to follow Jesus. This is a hymn that was written based out of a true story. About 150 years or so ago, there was a revival in Wales on the other side of the world. From there, they sent some missionaries to the northeastern part of India. This is a part of India that, especially at that time, there was a lot of different tribes. They were ruthless tribes. They were headhunter tribes. It was a very difficult part of the world. And these missionaries went in, they began to preach the gospel, and no one was listening. They weren't getting inroads, and they were being hated by the tribes. But finally, one man and his wife and his 2 young sons accepted Jesus as their Lord and Savior, believed the gospel. And the change that happened in their life became infectious. Suddenly, they were the buzz of the entire village and the surrounding areas. And people were starting to see, man, what is different about this family? And suddenly, the gospel began to spread. And then the chief was really upset about it. So he called together all of the villagers. And he called this family and he put them in front of him with the village surrounding him. And he said to the man, if you don't renounce Jesus, then these men are going to shoot arrows into your sons and kill them right in front of you. And the man looked back at him and said, I have decided to follow Jesus. No turning back. The chief gave the signal. They shot the arrows. And as the 2 young boys lay there writhing on the ground with gasping for their last bits of breath, the chief looked back at the man and said, you've lost your sons. Next, I'm going to kill your wife if you don't denounce Jesus. Will you denounce your faith? And the man said, cross before me, the world behind me. No turning back. The chief gave the signal. They shot the arrows into his wife as she lay there dying. The chief said, I'm going to give you one last chance. You've lost your son. You've lost your wife. You can denounce your faith and you can live. There's no need for you to die here today. You've lost enough. Will you denounce this man you call the Christ? And his father looked up and he said, though none go with me, still I will follow. No turning back. No turning back. In an instant, the arrows were released. The man fell to his death. But something incredible happened. Because as that chief sat there looking at what had unfolded right in front of him, he thought to himself, why should this man, his wife, and his 2 children die for a man who lived in a faraway land, in a faraway time, on another continent, 2,000 years ago? There must be something remarkable, some remarkable power behind this family's faith. And I too want to taste that faith. And in a spontaneous confession of faith, he declares in front of everyone, I too belong to Jesus. And revival spread out across the entire land. Because there was a man and his wife and his kids who had already decided, I will follow Jesus. Yeah, but it's not going your way. You've lost so much. The world behind me, the cross before me. I'm not turning back. Yeah, but you're all alone. Though none go with me, still I will follow. These words became, over the next few years, the basis for this hymn. I want the team to sing it, but I want to ask you this question. Have you decided to follow Jesus in every area of your life? One decision at a time. Every day. Until God takes you from this earth.